Welcome back to my show. I'm the Beer Adventurer.
I am the El Jefe 1974.
And he brought me something cool. This is from a brewery I've never heard of. This is up in Chicago. This is Marz Brewing. This is their Churros Con Leche. And this is a milk stout with cinnamon sticks and coffee and it's a milk stout. And I like churros and this is good. And we're looking at our studio audience going, so we have to make sure we don't drink all of it. What did they say the ABV was on this one?
I believe it's right there. A little high.
Oh, I spilled a little bit. I thought I had a little over 6.
Yep.
Spilled a little bit there. Oh well. That is doing it with the milk stout right there. I can already smell it. I smell the coffee.
Yep.
I smell a little bit of the cinnamon. Not too much coffee. It's got the right milk stout. A teeny bit thinner than I would have anticipated. But,
yes, and that was one thing I was going to point out is like when you hold it up and look, it doesn't have like the thick oil consistency, but it's still really good. It's really light.
You know, that's very light for a milk stout. 6.1. It still gets the milk stout smoothness, but not quite that coat.
Right.
I do like the smell. The flavor's actually cleaner than I anticipated.
Yes. Yeah, because the fear is you see coffee on there and you think, oh, it might be too bitter.
Yeah.
And then none of that goes away. And then you see the cinnamon and you're like, oop, it might be unintentionally spicy. That's not there. Then you're like, okay, the coffee could be too bitter. That's not there. I've been on the program with you before, and I've been one of the few to come on and talk about beers for dessert or beers with dessert.
Yes.
This is one of the beers you can have with dessert, hands down.
I can see that. Immediately, with the flavor profile that's in there, I'm going with flan.
Yep, absolutely.
But I can also see cheesecake.
Yeah. I mean, heck, I'm a Reese's fiend. I love my Reese's cups. So when I get that, you can have Reese's cups with this too.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you smell it, it's just not very strong. I mean, it just to me it smells like a cup of coffee. If you're a coffee drinker, you won't be put out. It's very mild.
Well, the thing is I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't really enjoy coffee. But I like this. The coffee is not too it's not too over the top.
Right.
I wouldn't even say it's too roasty. It's toasted. It's not really roasty. I mean, the balance is nice. I'm afraid that if it had more of that traditional milk stout, almost heaviness, I don't think it would feel as balanced. I'm a little confused by the lightness of it, with still getting a good milk stout mouthfeel.
What you have here is you have ingredients that could make this very bitter if it were to get out of control, and it's anything but. It's in control and you can enjoy it.
I think to the layperson, this is just a nice beer, but to more of a enthusiast, this is a beer that is ripe for mistakes. there's so many ways they could have oopsed
Yep.
and didn't, because they could have over any of these things that they haven't. They
Yeah.
could have undered any of these things. Yeah, this was probably a lot harder beer to make than you're gonna think initially.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like, they could have just killed this in a bad way, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They nailed it.
Would have been so simple to
Yep.
to
It
flub
could have
this one.
tasted like a cinnamon candy. It could have tasted like a bad cup of coffee. It could have been super milky. It could have been thick to the point where you drank it and it was like motor oil, because now you're worried about the bitterness of the coffee and the cinnamon. There's a lot of things that could have just taken this to a really bad place, and it never gets there.
As it warms up slightly, the smell is getting much more intense, and I'm smelling more cinnamon and almost more of a, well, I'm tasting more of the, I'm smelling more of the churro, the cinnamon sugar.
Right.
And the coffee's taking a little bit of a back seat, excuse me, which I feel like it should, based on the name.
Yep. The one thing I will say about this, and again, another, we're going to bring Big Joe back in. When we had this, the churro name's kind of a misnomer, because you don't get that churro-y, sprinkled,
Right.
sugary, cinnamony type thing. Like, if you're someone that likes churros, you're not going to get that with this. But what you are going to get is a very balanced. What you will get is, if you're having a cup of coffee with a churro, and then you've got that flavor, and now you're having it with the beer, right?
I smell, now that it's warmed up more, I smell more of the churro
Right.
than I even taste, but it works. And the very distant aftertaste, I almost get just that slight pastry flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, a really good churro is a light, mostly cinnamon, slightly sweet pastry. I've had some what I consider bad churros that were super sweet, very little cinnamon, and they almost taste like a donut.
Right.
So I think part of it is it doesn't need to be super cold, but I'm a big fan of cellar temperature stouts. It needs to be cool, not cold. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with this. Now, let me hand this to the studio audience so they can let us know what they think too. I'm pleasantly pleased with this. Looking over in that direction. I'm getting smiles, head nods. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. Yes. Second drinks. Those are all positives.
Yeah. I'm pretty blown away over here.
Yeah, this is a nice beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing I remember when Big Joe and I were drinking this, he is a fan of the milk stout.
Mm-hmm.
He did like this, but he was almost like he felt that it wasn't milk stouty enough.
I can see that.
But at the same time, I said, as long as you're not dissing the flavors, I understand why you're going that direction. But he loved the flavor. He was like,
Yeah,
the flavor is good.
I can see a lot of traditional milk stouts would have more of that unctuous, that full, and this is just skirting the edge of that.
Right. It's almost like it's milk stout light, but that's
I think that's a
wrong.
good-
But that's
No,
kind of
no,
like
I
what
know
it
what you're saying.
is. Yeah.
But I really feel like had they gone with a full milk stout like stereotype, I feel like they would have had to ramped up everything else, and I think
Yeah.
you could have blown this out.
Right, and that would have ruined it.
I think
honestly.
so. Well, it's obvious. Everybody in the room is enjoying this beer, and we hope that you are enjoying this review. I I'll tell you what, they set the bar pretty high for me for their brewery. I will be interested in trying some other ones. And if you guys are enjoying this review, please give us a thumbs up. You made it this far, go ahead and subscribe. Come on, ring the bell. You'll get 3 of these a week. Me and my friends, we drink beers, and eventually I get automated and load it up. Ring the bell, 3 of them. Ta-da! I'll see what I can find. We'll put it down in the description. Down there, you're also going to find my links to social media. Hey, my merch store. I designed some shirts and stickers and stuff. Maybe you'll find something down there you dig. Support us, because we're just going to use the money by beer. Now, let's see. We can talk about this, or hey, something similar, or something you think I need to find down there in the comments. And let's go ahead and get to it. Did you dig it? I think
did.
Everybody is shaking their head. Yes,
Yep.
We gotta let you. Did you dig it? Would you have it again? 4 shakes again.
Yes.
That's really cool. Like this beer has hit. Would it go well with food? We have discussed. I think this one will shine with food with a dessert.
Yes. Agreed.
As long as the dessert is not just like crushingly sweet, which those tend to overpower everything. We all know that. Now, on my scale of 1 pint to 10 pints, 1's the lowest, 10's the highest. What do you think on this?
I'm on solid 8 on this one for sure.
I think I am too. And I'm getting head nods. This is an 8. This is really good. I'm glad you brought this one. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right, until your next beer adventure.
Cheers.